Hello and welcome to live coverage of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. We are on the road to MotoGP and the official partner series of the British Superbikes Championship. So the championship is already wrapped up in the AC40 Pros. Your champion Mason Foster on the yellow 88 machine leading the way round to the grid, and he'll be starting from pole position ahead of second in the championship Ethan Sparks. There's a battle for third in the championship between Clayton Edmonds in third and then Sullivan Mounsey in fourth spot. Charlie Huntingford will be lining up on row number 3 and 5th ahead of Samuel Munson on the number 72. Then we've got Finn and Wednesday on row number 4 ahead of Henry McCarthy in 8th spot. Warwick Brady on bike number 99. Keep an eye out on him. He is very quick in these wet conditions. Ahead of Archie O'Brien rounding out the top 10. Luke Schofield is next up on bike number 64 ahead of Greg Marshall. Holly Harris on bike number 15 will be in 13th spot ahead of Casey Sperry, who's making his debut in the championship this weekend. Usually races in the rookies. He's in the pros for this one on the number 20. Keaton Payne in 15th ahead of Jacob Stevenson in 16th. Blake Wilson on bike 108 in 17th spot. Then Max Wedderty rounds out your runners and riders for the start of the AC40 Pros race number 2. And here is Chris McCarthy to take you through the start.
Well, there you can see Foster, that is the live championship before this race gets underway. One of the highest point scorers throughout the entire series, 500 points. Only a couple of riders have reached or gone beyond that. So that's big shout out to Mason Foster for the amount of points it scores, and it shows his dominance in this AC40 Pro series. Well, some of the riders getting a brief protection from the brollies as they are on the grid getting ready to go. Visibility is definitely going to become an issue in these conditions as we go on. You can see standing water as well. They'll have to avoid those. But the grid marshal is happy. They'll go over now for the yellow flag. Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks will get this race underway from the front row once that green flag drops. We are almost ready to go. They're revving the engines and the green flag's gone up and it is down, and it was a good start from third place Clayton Edmonds, who's going to try and dive down the inside. We've had some big changes towards the front. It didn't look like Mason Foster or Ethan Sparks got particularly good starts, and Ethan Sparks has dropped down to third place. I think Mason Foster had a little bit of a wobble throughout the first corner, so we have 3 riders breaking away. I believe Edmonds and Mounsey are 2 of them. The number 20, unfortunately, of Casey Sperry did not get going. So issues for Sperry, and I'm not sure if Casey Sperry is going to take any part in this race at all. But the AC40 Pros just trying to bed themselves in to the conditions, and Sperry has to get going quickly because he's on the start-finish straight and the leaders are not very
we've had a bit of a
far
crash down
away
turn
from
number 7 there. Just caught out the corner of my eye, and I'm not too sure the riders are the Holly Harris, and the other rider is the number 67 of Jacob Stevenson. Jacob Stevenson went down at turn number 7 and left Holly Harris with nowhere to go but splashing through the big puddles. Mason Foster nearly lost the front as he went through the puddle going into turn number 1. You've got to be avoiding these puddles at all costs, Chris. But our race leader is 144 of Sullivan Mounsey, and further behind him is the number 62 of Ethan Sparks. Clayton Edmonds, though, has moved up into second on the 146 machine. And then we've got Samuel Munson and Finnan Wedderty. Now, Mason Foster is your champion for the series, so he doesn't need to do anything about trying to win this race. He can just go out there and enjoy himself. But we still have the riders down. Jacob Stevenson, 67, is up and okay at the exit of turn number 7, trying to get the bike restarted, but it looks like the Jacob Stevenson's race could be over, at least for the chance of some championship points. But Ethan Sparks makes a move on Edmonds into the final corner between the penultimate corner and the final corner. Coming across start finish line, 1.9 seconds between Sullivan Mounsey and Ethan Sparks. Samuel Munson, the fastest rider on track, in 4th spot on number 72. He has been quick in wet conditions throughout 2019, so don't take your eyes off of Samuel Munson on bike number 72. Finnan Wedderty just behind him. Mason Foster in 6th. Henry McCarthy in 7th. Archie O'Brien in 8th spot. Charlie Huntingford in 9th. And Warwick Brady in 10th. So Mason Foster has wrapped up first in the championship. Ethan Sparks has wrapped up second, but there's 17 points. We've got Ryder down. That is the number 11 of Finn Werity, sliding out on turn number 5. Well spotted there, Chris. And Finn Werity back up. He's okay. He might have only lost a couple of positions in this race, but there's a great battle for third in the championship between Clayton Edmonds and Samuel Munson. 17 points. Edmonds is ahead of Munson for third in the championship, and they're basically together on track in third and fourth position as Ethan Sparks retakes second spot going into the final turn. So 5-1-1 for Foster as it stands. Sparks on 3-9-3. Great move there from Clayton Edmonds, splashing through the pulse to take second again. So now he will move up to 3-3-2 in the championship, and Samuel Munson further 20 points behind him as it stands for the moment.
Yeah, well, of course, we got that battle for third in the championship. In a championship podium, a fantastic result for any rider of any quality. So it is still a fairly important battle. I think one thing any rider does, no matter where you are in the field, you want to be as high up as you can in the championship, and if you have a chance to grab a place or two, you're going to want to take it on the final day of the season. But one or two riders unfortunately falling foul to the tricky conditions out there, but most have been okay, particularly Sullivan Mounsey, who has had a very good start to the race and has taken advantage of that by building a gap of just under 2 seconds from Clayton Edmonds. Then it is Ethan Sparks. Samuel Munson is in fourth place. Mason Foster is trying to recover in fifth at the moment. Werity, despite going down, is in sixth place at the moment. So yes, got up very quickly and got going. That just shows how much the top five are pushing. They are away and clear. They're split by 3 seconds. Then it's a further 7 back to Werity. O'Brien, McCarthy, Huntingford and Greg Marshall has just gone past Warwick Brady to round out the top 10. Max Werity has passed Blake Wilson for 12th place, and then we have Payne, Harris, Stevenson and Sperry. The latter two unfortunately not circulating at the moment, but round the final corner they come. The penultimate corner, now into the final corner for Ethan Sparks on the number 62. They're going to complete lap number 4, and we have a new fastest lap for Clayton Edmonds. Now 1.1 seconds back from Sullivan Mounsey, and on that last lap he was 9/10 quicker than Sullivan Mounsey. So if he can continue that pace, then he will be right with Mounsey going into the final 3 laps of the race. So Sullivan Mounsey has got a huge queue of riders closing in, led by Edmonds, with Sparks, Munson and Foster all tagging along.
Munson is chasing after Clayton Edmonds now. He's seeing the third place in the championship, and he sees it getting away ever so slightly. But last time round, what a cracking lap time by Clayton Edmonds, but it seems to be for naught this lap round, as Sparks and Munson have both caught the 146 rider with only 3 and a bit laps remaining of this AC40 Pro Race number 2 from Tattershall, the final round of the series. Coming across start finish line now is Edmonds and Munson. Will Munson make a move into turn number 1? Yes, he will, splashing through the puddles over the bumps. That is now Munson into second spot. He will now close the gap down on Clayton Edmonds. The gaps are changing every way. Whenever we take our eyes off it or our ears off it, it changes once again. So Munson will now be closing the gap down to Clayton Edmonds, back down to 14 points if it stays the way it is. But the gap has visually come down outside the commentary box window. We can see that, and Sparks will be on 389. Foster still on 5. Oh, we've got someone down. That's Ethan Sparks. Sparks out of turn number 6, loses the rear end and goes down. And we've got Munson down. Munson's down as well, coming out of turn number 7. Both crash a corner apart, and that is Munson out of second. He's dropped back down to 4th, which is leaving Clayton Edmonds in second. We've got another rider down coming out of turn number 7. Not sure who that was, but we'll keep an eye on that one. But everyone seems to be going down. Not sure if the rain's getting a little bit heavier, Chris.
Well, Sullivan Mounsey, he'd backed off the pace, but he was staying on his bike, and that has done favours for him. Edmonds is now 2 seconds back. Foster has gone up to 3rd, keeping a clean pair of heels. Munson drops to 4th, Sparks to 5th. And the other rider that went down was potentially, let's have a look, was potentially Finn and Werity, because Werity was almost 10 seconds slower than his usual pace. So Finn and Werity in 6th, and it's McCarthy, Huntingford, Brady, Marshall, Max Werity on the move is up to 11th. But looking good for Sullivan Mounsey with under 2 laps to go now. The 144 of Sullivan Mounsey is doing a great job out front. And Sullivan Mounsey now just coming through the final corner there and down the start-finish straight to head onto the final lap of the race. And this has been a fantastic ride from him. He is being caught by Clayton Edmonds, but he seems to just be controlling the pace. Foster 3rd. Munson has set the fastest lap as he tries to recover in 4th. And then Ethan Sparks is 5th.
So he might be comfortable. He just lost 7/10 in that final lap. Said Sullivan Mounsey to Clayton Edmonds. Got a rider down at turn number 5, so yellow flags will be waving. No overtaking, but Clayton Edmonds isn't close enough. But last time round, Munson, after falling off a lap previously, has now set the fastest lap of the race. He is in striking distance. Oh, but the leader's down. Mounsey's out of the race at turn number 6. That's leaving Edmonds in the lead. He slides out, back end comes out. He's back into 3rd, and now Clayton Edmonds on bike 146 is seeing his opportunity, and Munson's down as well at turn number 6. He's at a 4th spot. Clayton Edmonds just needs to keep it on the road. Through the final turn comes Clayton Edmonds, and a dramatic end to this AC40 Pro Race number 2. Then we've got Foster in 2nd, who kept his head clean, and then coming across the line was your race leader. Such a shame from Sullivan Mounsey, who led the entire race and towards the last half of the final lap as the rest of the riders come across the line. Now Samuel Munson keeps 4th place, even though he crashed twice within the last 3 laps. Ethan Sparks in 5th, and then as our checker flag waves, we will be keeping an eye on who comes across the line and the bottom top 10. So we've got Clayton Edmonds in 1st, Mason Foster 2nd, Sullivan Mounsey completing the podium. But for the championship, Mason Foster already wrapped up the championship last time at Aurora. He's now on 520 points. Ethan Sparks on 384. Edmonds on 388, and Munson drops even further back. He's now 19 points behind Edmonds on 309. So the rest of the riders come across our finish line. Edmonds from Foster, from Mounsey, then Munson in 4th, and Ethan Sparks 5th. Finn and Werity in 6th, Henry McCarthy in 7th, Charlie Huntingford in 8th, Ward Brady in 9th, and then Greg Marshall in 10th. But as the riders make their way back round to the paddock, what a fantastic race it was, Chris, with a great start from Sullivan Mounsey off the start into the lead at turn number 1.
Yep, took the lead early on and would set the pace from the front, would back off when needed to, but kept in the lead as Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks both fell back. They would have to quickly begin their recoveries. Of course, the major talking point of that race was the riders that fell, and Ethan Sparks was the first of them to go down, the number 62 going down there. Then we had the likes of Werity going down as well. Edmonds was another, and they continued to fall, and that was the major drama when Sullivan Mounsey on the very final lap, with just a handful of corners remaining, fell down, and it gave Edmonds the win, with Foster finishing in 2nd. Mounsey eventually coming across the line to finish in 3rd place.